In this lecture, we'll be creating our first C# script so that we can properly interact with our Unity input action map. Let's take the first steps towards rigging up our input in a way that we can finally control player movement and get our player ship bobbing and weaving back and forth. Now, there's a lot of different ways to control input inside of Unity. We've already gone over a couple different systems, but I think it's finally time that we can start taking advantage of an action map. In the input folder, let's just double click this input actions called input system_actions that came with this project. Now, this is a bit overwhelming at first, I'll admit. Take a deep breath. We're just going to use this as an example to explain what the Unity input actions asset is, and then we're going to create one completely from scratch that'll be a little bit easier to manage. In each individual input action asset, you can have as many action maps as you'd like. This one, for example, came with both the player movement action map and say something like for UI. You might even have something like different action maps for different mini games inside of a game, or something like inventory, for example. And then each individual action map will have its own set of actions. For example, a player will often be able to move and look around. Now, this out-of-the-box default action map has a set of actions that would come with something probably like a 3D platformer, for example. The most basic action might just be a button, say for something like crouching, jumping, attacking. If you were to click any of these, you can see over on the right, the action type is just a button. If you were to open up each individual one, you can see what button correlates to that action. For example, something like space key for jump, or for attacking, something like the left mouse button. But right here, you can start to see the power of an action map. Jump might not necessarily be just the space on a keyboard. It might also be a specific button on a gamepad or a different controller. And attacking might be the same. You might create a game that's both available on PC, the Nintendo Switch, and the Xbox. The action map lets us take full advantage of those different buttons depending on how you want to rig it up. That way, when we write our code, we don't have to tell it, hey, if you press this specific button, or this left mouse button, or this touch key on a different gamepad, you can just tell it, hey, I want it to attack. And that's all you have to write in the script, and then you can write the corresponding logic to go with it. So with that basic explanation, let's go ahead and close that out and create one from scratch. I don't believe we modified anything, but let's just go ahead and hit don't save just in case. In our input folder, let's go ahead and right-click create, and here at the very bottom it says input actions. And let's call ours player controls, no space. Player controls with an S at the end. Let's go ahead and hit enter, double click to open it up and create our first action map with this little plus icon. And what are we trying to move? We're trying to give our player some movement. So let's just call this action map our player. On our actions, the first thing we want to set up is movement. So let's go ahead and rename this action to move. Now over here on the action properties, we can change this action type to a button or a couple other options here as well. Now for something like movement, we're going to want to return a value of left to right, top to bottom. So we're going to need something a little bit more than a button. We're going to want to return a value. On that value, we can return a bunch of different control types depending on the information that we really want back. So in this case, we're not moving forward and back. So something that's going to be sufficient for us is going to be, in our case, a vector2. Giving us an X value and a Y value on both the negative and the positive direction. Don't worry, I think this will all make a bit more sense once we put it into practice. So for now, let's just go ahead and select vector2. Next up, we can go ahead and set our bindings. In my case, I'm going to go ahead and use the WASD keys. However, if you'd like to rig up both WASD and your arrow keys, you can do that, no problem. Maybe we'll get into that a little bit later on. For now, go ahead and hit this little plus icon by move, and let's add an up, down, left, or right composite to make sure that we're able to move all four directions. So with that created, let's just go ahead and delete this no binding here by highlighting it and pressing delete. If we open up our 2D vector, we can now bind these four different inputs. So with up selected over here on the right, we now have our binding properties open. We just want to select the path. With that opened up, we just want to set it to our W up key. Now you could find that probably in keyboard and then basically find the W key in here. However, I find it a lot easier just to hit this listen button here. And with that active, you can just hit the W key and it'll bring up the W keyboard input from our keyboard. So let's do that for the additional three. Down, path, listen, S key. Go ahead and look that up. Left, you guessed it. Path, listen, A keyboard for left, and right is going to be D. So right, listen, D, and select D on the keyboard. And with this created, we can receive these values through script. So with that created, let's go ahead and make sure we hit Save Asset, and then we can go ahead and close out this Input Actions Editor window. With that created, I think it's finally time to create our first C# script, my favorite part. Let's go create in our Assets folder a new folder called Scripts. Inside Scripts, let's go ahead and right-click and create our first mono behavior script. And let's name this Player Movement to get our ship moving around. And with this script created, let's go ahead and have a think on what we're actually trying to move. Are we trying to move our player rig with the camera attached? That doesn't really make sense. That's what we're moving with our timeline. So let's open that up. Are we trying to move our model? Kind of, but not really, just in case we want to attach some additional logic to our player inside of our player rig. So I think it would make the most sense if we create another empty game object for our logic. Let's create an empty game object, and let's just call this player ship. And inside of our player ship, we can then child our model directly. Let's make sure player ship is zeroed out, and on this player ship, we can start attaching our logic, this being exactly what we want to move relative to our player rig above it. And with our player movement script attached to our player ship, we're going to need to also be able to access the input system that we just created. So let's go ahead and add a component called player input. On this player input component, we can assign which actions asset that we'd like to use. Now, by default, it's created the other actions asset that we don't want to use. So I think we can just actually click this here and select the one we just created, player controls. With that selected, let's go ahead and close that out. Now, in our case, we only have one action map attached to this input actions asset, so we can go ahead and leave that selected. And we've got a few different options for our behavior on how we'd like to interact with this action map. And I'll be honest, there's half a dozen different ways that you can control input using this action map. So let's take it one at a time. In this project, we're going to use what is probably the most straightforward way to interact with it, which is basically sending messages to our C# scripts attached to this specific game object. So if you have player input and you have a script attached somewhere else in your scene, it's not going to work. It has to be attached to this specific game object. And below here, you can see a few different functions that we can access. Things like on-device lost, on-device regained. We're not going to use those. However, it's also created for us this onMove function. And that actually is created to the move action that we created directly through our action map. Let's actually give you another example just to make that crystal clear. So you don't have to do this part, just watch along for just a second. I'm just going to create another action called AS blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's save that asset just to make this crystal clear just for a second. On our player ship, on this player input, you can now see we've created this function on ASDF, so on and so forth. Okay, let's go quickly delete that, hop into the script, and then we can gain access to this onMove method that we've created. So I'll go ahead and just delete that quickly, make sure my asset is saved. That's been removed from my send messages behavior. And let's go ahead and open up our first C# script attached to our player ship, player movement. I'm just going to open that up directly double-clicking the script attached to our component, player movement. Now, don't panic if mine looks just a little bit different than yours or Rick's. I'm using a slightly different color scheme that I've grown accustomed to, but everything else should be and operate the same. Just like before, to use the input system, we need to import the Unity engine .input system namespace. We can then use that method that the input action map has created for us. The way that we directly access it is very similar to just using these built-in Unity methods. However, it does have to be public, I believe. So public void onMove. This onMove method is actually going to pass through some data that we can use. The way that we access that data is by accessing our input value. And we can just call that value. And to start out, let's just do something really simple and print this to our console so we can really see what's happening. So debug.log, and then I'm going to gain access to that vector2 that we've created as the property in our action map. And the syntax that we use to get that vector2 back is value.get. Open angle bracket, vector2, close angle bracket, open and close parentheses. End that with a semicolon, and let's head back to Unity to see what that gets in our console. All right, moment of truth. Let's go ahead and open up our console. Hit the play button to make sure everything works. Now it's reloading our domain. Let's go ahead and actually change that so it compiles a little bit faster here in just a second. But we should be able to, great, use our WASD keys and get our input vector2 values back. So ignore what's kind of happening here on the game screen. Just look here down in the console. I've got my A key selected and it's returning a -1 value on the x-axis. Let's try to move right. Positive value, perfect. And W, great, we've got a 1 value in the positive direction for our y-axis, and then S should return a negative value in our y-axis to be able to move down. Amazing, truly magic. I think we're ready to move on and actually use this input to get our player ship moving around in the next lecture. Before we move on, let's just make sure that we can enter play mode a little bit faster by changing those reload domain settings. So edit, project settings. I always forget where it is. I think it's in editor, scrolling down. Yes, when entering play mode, let's just change that to not reload our domain or scene. Now, just as a friendly reminder, this can sometimes cause issues with things like static variables, sometimes scriptable objects. We're not really going to be getting into that anytime soon, if in this section at all. Maybe we'll worry about it a little bit later on, but for our sake for now, we're not going to have to worry about it. Let's go ahead and close that out. When you're ready to move forward and implement player movement using this input, I'll see you in the next lecture.